CLEP Introduction to Educational Psychology Prep Course. Question 1. Rather than guessing, Zuri should connect students start feeling nervous after a certain chime is repeatedly paired with a pop quiz with which concept? Option A, operant conditioning. Option B, classical conditioning. Option C, metacognition. Option D, constructivism. The correct answer is option B. Classical conditioning. This describes classical conditioning because a neutral stimulus becomes linked with an emotional response after repeated pairings. Operant conditioning is not the best choice because it focuses on consequences after behavior rather than associations before a response. Metacognition is different because it concerns thinking about one's own thinking, not learned emotional associations. Constructivism does not fit because it explains active meaning-making, not a reflexive conditioned response. Question 2. Curiosity rises when Zuri reads that a teacher adds praise after a student participates and participation increases. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, negative reinforcement. Option B, extinction. Option C, positive reinforcement. Option D, punishment. The correct answer is option C. Positive reinforcement. This describes positive reinforcement because a desirable consequence is added after a behavior, making that behavior more likely. Negative reinforcement is not the best choice because it removes an unpleasant condition rather than adding a reward. Extinction is different because it weakens behavior by withholding reinforcement. Punishment does not fit because it aims to reduce behavior rather than increase it. Question 3. A CLEP-style scenario says students complete homework early to avoid a weekly reminder call home. Which answer best captures it for Zuri? Option A, positive reinforcement. Option B, negative reinforcement. Option C, response cost. Option D, classical conditioning. The correct answer is option B. Negative reinforcement. This describes negative reinforcement because a behavior increases because it helps the learner avoid or remove something unpleasant. Positive reinforcement is not the best choice because it adds a pleasant consequence rather than removing an unpleasant one. Response cost is different because it removes a privilege after misbehavior. Classical conditioning does not fit because it involves stimulus association rather than consequences shaping behavior. Question 4. Inside a mini-lecture, Zuri studies why a student receives an extra cleanup task after throwing paper and the behavior decreases. Which concept fits? Option A, shaping. Option B, negative reinforcement. Option C, positive reinforcement. Option D, positive punishment. The correct answer is option D. Positive punishment. This describes positive punishment because an unpleasant consequence is added to reduce an unwanted behavior. Shaping is not the best choice because it builds behavior through small reinforced steps. Negative reinforcement is different because it increases behavior by removing something unpleasant. Positive reinforcement does not fit because it adds something desirable to increase behavior. Question 5. Looking at the clue that a teacher rewards each closer attempt as a shy learner gradually speaks louder in class, which idea should Zuri remember? Option A, reciprocal teaching. Option B, shaping. Option C, fixed ratio schedule. Option D, extinction. The correct answer is option B. Shaping. This describes shaping because successive approximations are reinforced until the desired behavior develops. Reciprocal teaching is not the best choice because it uses student-led reading strategies rather than behavior building. Fixed ratio schedule is different because it reinforces after a set number of responses, not gradual progress. Extinction does not fit because it reduces behavior by removing reinforcement. Question 6. Zuri sees that a teacher stops laughing at off-task jokes and the jokes slowly fade away during a bright review class. Which concept best explains it? Option A, spaced practice. Option B, punishment. Option C, modeling. Option D, extinction. The correct answer is option D. Extinction. This describes extinction because a previously reinforced behavior decreases when reinforcement is no longer provided. Spaced practice is not the best choice because it improves memory through distributed study sessions. Punishment is different because it adds or removes a consequence to reduce behavior more directly. Modeling does not fit because it involves learning by watching others. Question 7. When Zuri notices that a learner keeps answering review questions because bonus points appear after unpredictable numbers of correct responses in a quiet study group, which idea is being tested? Option A, fixed ratio schedule. Option B, variable ratio schedule. Option C, variable interval schedule. Option D, fixed interval schedule. The correct answer is option B, variable ratio schedule. This describes variable ratio schedule because reinforcement occurs after an unpredictable number of responses, which often produces steady responding. Fixed ratio schedule is not the best choice because it rewards after a predictable number of responses. Variable interval schedule is different because it rewards after changing time intervals rather than response counts. Fixed interval schedule does not fit because it rewards the first response after a set amount of time. Question 8. During an online prep session, Zuri studies a case where students work hardest right before a quiz that happens every Friday. Which term fits best? Option A, fixed interval schedule. Option B, fixed ratio schedule. Option C, variable ratio schedule. Option D, token economy. The correct answer is option A, fixed interval schedule. This describes fixed interval schedule because reinforcement is available after a predictable amount of time has passed. Fixed ratio schedule is not the best choice because it depends on a set number of responses. Variable ratio schedule is different because it depends on unpredictable response counts. Token economy does not fit because it uses symbolic rewards exchanged for privileges. Question 9. In a morning lesson, Zuri asks why a child copies a classmate's polite hand raising after seeing the classmate praised. Which answer names the idea? Option A, observational learning. Option B, insight learning. Option C, classical conditioning. Option D, trial and error learning. The correct answer is option A, observational learning. This describes observational learning because the learner changes behavior after watching another person and the consequences that follow. Insight learning is not the best choice because it involves a sudden solution, not imitation. Classical conditioning is different because it links stimuli rather than modeling behavior. Trial and error learning does not fit because it depends on personal attempts and feedback rather than watching a model. Question 10. After reading that a student with strong belief in personal ability chooses harder practice problems, how should Zuri label the concept? Option A, self-concept. Option B, self-efficacy. Option C, intrinsic motivation. Option D, external locus of control. The correct answer is option B, self-efficacy. This describes self-efficacy because the learner's belief in their capability affects effort, persistence, and challenge choice. Self-concept is not the best choice because it is a broader view of oneself, not task-specific confidence. Intrinsic motivation is different because it refers to interest or enjoyment, not belief in ability. External locus of control does not fit because it attributes outcomes to outside forces rather than personal capability. Question 11. For a short exam review, Zuri connects a learner's confidence, classroom behavior, and teacher response all influence one another with which principle? Option A, reciprocal determinism. Option B, maturation. Option C, classical conditioning. Option D, norm reference testing. The correct answer is option A, reciprocal determinism. This describes reciprocal determinism because personal factors, behavior, and environment interact in a two-way pattern. Maturation is not the best choice because it emphasizes biological growth rather than social interaction cycles. Classical conditioning is different because it focuses on learned stimulus associations. Norm reference testing does not fit because it compares scores to other test takers. Question 12. Could a case where a teacher gives sentence starters at first and slowly removes them as students improve be an example of which concept for Zuri? Option A, summative assessment. Option B, extinction. Option C, scaffolding. Option D, standardization. The correct answer is option C. Scaffolding. This describes scaffolding because temporary support is provided and then withdrawn as learners become more independent. Summative assessment is not the best choice because it evaluates learning after instruction is complete. Extinction is different because it removes reinforcement to reduce behavior. Standardization does not fit because it keeps testing procedures the same for everyone. Question 13. Why would Zuri link a learner can solve a problem with hints but not yet alone to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, zone of proximal development. Option B, reliability. Option C, mastery learning. Option D, formal operational stage. The correct answer is option A. Zone of proximal development. This describes zone of proximal development because the task sits between independent ability and what the learner can do with support. Reliability is not the best choice because it concerns score consistency, not learning support. Mastery learning is different because it requires reaching a performance standard before moving on. Formal operational stage does not fit because it describes abstract reasoning, not support level. Question 14. A practice item tells Zuri that a child calls a zebra a horse because it fits an existing animal category. Which concept is most likely? Option A, accommodation. Option B, assimilation. Option C, encoding. Option D, conservation. The correct answer is option B. Assimilation. This describes assimilation because new information is interpreted using an existing mental schema. Accommodation is not the best choice because it changes the schema to fit new information. Encoding is different because it is getting information into memory. Conservation does not fit because it is understanding that quantity can stay the same despite appearance changes. Question 15. Before answering, Zuri identifies that a child changes the animal category after learning zebras are not horses. Which term should be chosen? Option A, class inclusion. Option B, rehearsal. Option C, assimilation. Option D, accommodation. The correct answer is option D. Accommodation. This describes accommodation because an existing schema is revised when new information does not fit. Class inclusion is not the best choice because it involves understanding category relationships. Rehearsal is different because it is repeating information to maintain it in memory. Assimilation does not fit because it would force new information into an old schema. Question 16. Which choice helps Zuri explain why a child solves conservation tasks but struggles with purely hypothetical logic in a learning lab? Option A, sensoromotor thinking. Option B, formal operational thinking. Option C, pre-operational thinking. Option D, concrete operational thinking. The correct answer is option D. Concrete operational thinking. This describes concrete operational thinking because children can reason logically about concrete objects but not fully abstract possibilities. Sensoromotor thinking is not the best choice because it centers on infant sensory and motor exploration. Formal operational thinking is different because it includes abstract and hypothetical reasoning. Pre-operational thinking does not fit because it often lacks conservation and logical reversibility. Question 17. How can Zuri classify a classroom moment where a teen reasons through a hypothetical justice problem without needing physical examples? Option A, pre-operational thinking. Option B, concrete operational thinking. Option C, object permanence. Option D, formal operational thinking. The correct answer is option D. Formal operational thinking. This describes formal operational thinking because abstract and hypothetical reasoning are key features of this stage. Pre-operational thinking is not the best choice because it is marked by symbolic thought but limited logic. Concrete operational thinking is different because it works best with tangible examples. Object permanence does not fit because it is an infant understanding that objects still exist when unseen. Question 18. Suppose Zuri observes that an infant searches for a hidden toy instead of acting as if it disappeared. Which concept is shown? Option A, conservation. Option B, egocentrism. Option C, object permanence. Option D, centration. The correct answer is option C. Object permanence. This describes object permanence because the child understands that objects continue to exist even when out of sight. Conservation is not the best choice because it involves understanding quantity despite appearance changes. Egocentrism is different because it involves difficulty taking another person's viewpoint. Centration does not fit because it means focusing on one feature while ignoring others. Question 19. While reviewing, Zuri sees an elementary student gains pride from mastering reading and classroom skills. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, identity versus role confusion. Option B, trust versus mistrust. Option C, industry versus inferiority. Option D, generativity versus stagnation. The correct answer is option C. Industry versus inferiority. This describes industry versus inferiority because school-age children build competence through successful work and feedback. Identity versus role confusion is not the best choice because it is mainly an adolescent search for personal identity. Trust versus mistrust is different because it centers on infant caregiver reliability. Generativity versus stagnation does not fit because it focuses on adult contribution to others. Question 20. One interesting clue says a teenager explores values, careers, and beliefs to answer who they are. Which educational psychology term fits for Zuri? Option A, industry versus inferiority. Option B, autonomy versus shame. Option C, intimacy versus isolation. Option D, identity versus role confusion. The correct answer is option D. Identity versus role confusion. This describes identity versus role confusion because adolescents work toward a stable sense of self and direction. Industry versus inferiority is not the best choice because it focuses on school-age competence. Autonomy versus shame is different because it describes toddlers building independence. Intimacy versus isolation does not fit because it usually involves young adult relationships. Question 21. From this example, where a student says cheating is wrong because rules and community expectations matter, which answer should Zuri select? Option A, conventional morality. Option B, pre-conventional morality. Option C, post-conventional morality. Option D, moral realism. The correct answer is option A. Conventional morality. This describes conventional morality because moral reasoning is based on social approval, rules, and maintaining order. Pre-conventional morality is not the best choice because it focuses on rewards and punishments. Post-conventional morality is different because it uses broad ethical principles beyond rules. Moral realism does not fit because it treats rules as fixed and unchangeable. Question 22. Students in a quiet study group discuss why a child avoids lying mainly to escape punishment or earn a reward. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, identity achievement. Option B, conventional morality. Option C, post-conventional morality. Option D, pre-conventional morality. The correct answer is option D. Pre-conventional morality. This describes pre-conventional morality because moral decisions are driven by personal consequences such as punishment or reward. Identity achievement is not the best choice because it describes commitment after exploration, not moral reasoning. Conventional morality is different because it emphasizes rules and approval from society. Post-conventional morality does not fit because it reasons from abstract principles and rights. Question 23. Teachers in an online prep session wonder why a student argues that a rule should be challenged when it violates basic human rights. Which principle applies? Option A, learned helplessness. Option B, conventional morality. Option C, pre-conventional morality. Option D, post-conventional morality. The correct answer is option D. Post-conventional morality. This describes post-conventional morality because moral reasoning is guided by universal principles rather than simple rule following. Learned helplessness is not the best choice because it concerns giving up after repeated failure. Conventional morality is different because it generally supports rules and social order. Pre-conventional morality does not fit because it focuses on personal gain or punishment. Question 24. Can Zuri treat a teacher plan's choices that include music, movement, language, and spatial design as evidence of which concept? Option A, G factor. Option B, multiple intelligences. Option C, working memory. Option D, norm reference testing. The correct answer is option B. Multiple intelligences. This describes multiple intelligences because the approach treats ability as varied across different domains of strength. G factor is not the best choice because it emphasizes a general intelligence factor. Working memory is different because it is a limited mental workspace. Norm reference testing does not fit because it compares learners to a group. Question 25. If Zuri must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when an assignment asks students to solve problems, create products, and apply ideas in daily life? Option A, fluid intelligence. Option B, triarchic intelligence. Option C, multiple intelligences. Option D, criterion reference testing. The correct answer is option B. Triarchic intelligence. This describes triarchic intelligence because Sternberg's model highlights analytical, creative, and practical intelligence. Fluid intelligence is not the best choice because it refers to novel problem-solving ability. Multiple intelligences is different because it lists broader domains such as musical or bodily kinesthetic abilities. Criterion reference testing does not fit because it measures performance against standards. Question 26. Rather than guessing, Zuri should connect a learner studies child development because the topic feels genuinely fascinating with which concept? Option A, extrinsic motivation. Option B, intrinsic motivation. Option C, performance goal. Option D, negative reinforcement. The correct answer is option B. Intrinsic motivation. This describes intrinsic motivation because the behavior is driven by interest, curiosity, or enjoyment of the activity itself. Extrinsic motivation is not the best choice because it depends on outside rewards or pressures. Performance goal is different because it focuses on looking competent compared with others. Negative reinforcement does not fit because it increases behavior by removing something unpleasant. Question 27. Curiosity rises when Zuri reads that a student completes extra practice mainly to earn a gift card. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, self-regulation. Option B, extrinsic motivation. Option C, mastery goal. Option D, intrinsic motivation. The correct answer is option B. Extrinsic motivation. This describes extrinsic motivation because the behavior is driven by an outside reward rather than the activity itself. Self-regulation is not the best choice because it involves planning and monitoring one's learning. Mastery goal is different because it emphasizes learning and improvement. Intrinsic motivation does not fit because it comes from interest or enjoyment. Question 28. A CLEP-style scenario says a learner chooses difficult questions to improve understanding even if mistakes happen. Which answer best captures it for Zuri? Option A, avoidance goal. Option B, performance goal. Option C, fixed mindset. Option D, mastery goal. The correct answer is option D. Mastery goal. This describes mastery goal because the focus is on growth, learning, and skill development. Avoidance goal is not the best choice because it focuses on avoiding failure or embarrassment. Performance goal is different because it focuses on proving ability or outperforming others. Fixed mindset does not fit because it treats ability as unchangeable. Question 29. Inside a teacher training scenario, Zuri studies why a student studies mainly to score higher than classmates and appear smart. Which concept fits? Option A, intrinsic motivation. Option B, mastery goal. Option C, performance goal. Option D, metacognition. The correct answer is option C, performance goal. This describes performance goal because the learner is focused on demonstrating ability relative to others. Intrinsic motivation is not the best choice because it centers on enjoyment or curiosity. Mastery goal is different because it centers on improvement and understanding. Metacognition does not fit because it involves awareness and control of thinking. Question 30. Looking at the clue that a learner explains a failed test by blaming effort, task difficulty, luck, or ability, which idea should Zuri remember? Option A, attribution theory. Option B, constructivism. Option C, classroom ecology. Option D, information processing theory. The correct answer is option A, attribution theory. This describes attribution theory because it examines how people explain causes of success and failure. Constructivism is not the best choice because it emphasizes building meaning from experience. Classroom ecology is different because it focuses on classroom environment patterns. Information processing theory does not fit because it explains how information moves through memory systems. Question 31. Zuri sees that a student stops trying because repeated failures made success feel impossible during a learning lab. Which concept best explains it? Option A, growth mindset. Option B, learned helplessness. Option C, self-efficacy. Option D, positive transfer. The correct answer is option B, learned helplessness. This describes learned helplessness because repeated uncontrollable failure can reduce motivation and effort. Growth mindset is not the best choice because it supports belief that ability can improve. Self-efficacy is different because it refers to belief in capability, not resignation. Positive transfer does not fit because it happens when prior learning helps new learning. Question 32. When Zuri notices that a student treats mistakes as evidence that a skill can improve with strategy and effort in an after-school class, which idea is being tested? Option A, growth mindset. Option B, external attribution. Option C, entity theory. Option D, fixed mindset. The correct answer is option A, growth mindset. This describes growth mindset because ability is viewed as developable through effort, feedback, and better strategies. External attribution is not the best choice because it places causes outside the learner. Entity theory is different because it is another way to describe fixed views of ability. Fixed mindset does not fit because it treats ability as stable and hard to change. Question 33. During a student coaching session, Zuri studies a case where a hungry, unsafe student struggles to focus on a challenging lesson. Which term fits best? Option A, classical conditioning. Option B, Kohlberg theory. Option C, Maslow hierarchy of needs. Option D, Bloom taxonomy. The correct answer is option C, Maslow hierarchy of needs. This describes Maslow hierarchy of needs because basic physiological and safety needs can affect readiness for higher level learning. Classical conditioning is not the best choice because it explains learned stimulus response associations. Kohlberg theory is different because it describes moral reasoning development. Bloom taxonomy does not fit because it classifies cognitive learning objectives. Question 34. In a mini lecture, Zuri asks why a student loses track while solving a long mental math problem with many steps. Which answer names the idea? Option A, working memory. Option B, procedural memory. Option C, sensory memory. Option D, long-term memory. The correct answer is option A. Working memory. This describes working memory because working memory is the limited mental space used to hold and process information temporarily. Procedural memory is not the best choice because it stores skills and habits. Sensory memory is different because it briefly holds raw sensory input. Long-term memory does not fit because it stores information over extended periods. Question 35. After reading that a learner recalls a teaching theory studied weeks earlier, how should Zuri label the concept? Option A, long-term memory. Option B, selective attention. Option C, sensory memory. Option D, working memory. The correct answer is option A. Long-term memory. This describes long-term memory because information retained over time is stored in long-term memory. Selective attention is not the best choice because it filters what receives mental focus. Sensory memory is different because it lasts only briefly after stimulation. Working memory does not fit because it is temporary and limited during active thinking. Question 36. For a short exam review, Zuri connects a student turns a new vocabulary term into a meaningful example to remember it with which principle? Option A, extinction. Option B, validity. Option C, encoding. Option D, retrieval. The correct answer is option C. Encoding. This describes encoding because encoding is the process of getting information into memory in a usable form. Extinction is not the best choice because it weakens a learned behavior. Validity is different because it concerns whether a test measures what it should. Retrieval does not fit because it involves pulling stored information back out. Question 37. Could a case where a learner closes the book and answers questions from memory to strengthen recall be an example of which concept for Zuri? Option A, centration. Option B, retrieval practice. Option C, summative assessment. Option D, massed practice. The correct answer is option B. Retrieval practice. This describes retrieval practice because actively recalling information improves later memory more than simply rereading. Centration is not the best choice because it means focusing on one feature of a situation. Summative assessment is different because it evaluates learning at the end of instruction. Massed practice does not fit because it compresses study into one long session. Question 38. Why would Zuri link a student studies the same concepts in short sessions across several days to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, norming. Option B, shaping. Option C, massed practice. Option D, spaced practice. The correct answer is option D. Spaced practice. This describes spaced practice because learning is distributed over time, which usually supports stronger retention. Norming is not the best choice because it creates comparison data for a test. Shaping is different because it reinforces gradual behavior changes. Massed practice does not fit because it packs study into one concentrated period. Question 39. A practice item tells Zuri that a learner links a new theory to personal classroom experiences. Which concept is most likely? Option A, extinction. Option B, rote rehearsal. Option C, elaboration. Option D, reliability. The correct answer is option C. Elaboration. This describes elaboration because new information is made more meaningful by connecting it to existing knowledge. Extinction is not the best choice because it removes reinforcement to reduce behavior. Rote rehearsal is different because it repeats information without adding meaning. Reliability does not fit because it refers to consistency of measurement. Question 40. Before answering, Zuri identifies that a student groups a long list of theorists into behaviorist, cognitive, and social categories. Which term should be chosen? Option A, overlearning. Option B, response cost. Option C, chunking. Option D, accommodation. The correct answer is option C. Chunking. This describes chunking because information is organized into meaningful units to reduce memory load. Overlearning is not the best choice because it continues practice after initial mastery. Response cost is different because it removes a privilege to reduce behavior. Accommodation does not fit because it changes a schema to fit new information. Question 41. Which choice helps Zuri explain why a student checks which topics are weak and adjusts the study plan in a tutoring table? Option A, automaticity. Option B, extrinsic motivation. Option C, classical conditioning. Option D, metacognition. The correct answer is option D. Metacognition. This describes metacognition because the learner monitors and controls their own thinking and learning strategies. Automaticity is not the best choice because it means a skill requires little conscious effort. Extrinsic motivation is different because it depends on external rewards. Classical conditioning does not fit because it involves learned associations. Question 42. How can Zuri classify a classroom moment where knowledge from a statistics lesson helps a student understand test reliability? Option A, negative punishment. Option B, cognitive dissonance. Option C, transfer of learning. Option D, extinction. The correct answer is option C. Transfer of learning. This describes transfer of learning because previous learning influences performance in a new but related situation. Negative punishment is not the best choice because it removes something desirable to reduce behavior. Cognitive dissonance is different because it involves discomfort from conflicting beliefs. Extinction does not fit because it reduces behavior when reinforcement stops. Question 43. Suppose Zuri observes that a teacher gives a big picture concept map before a complex lesson begins. Which concept is shown? Option A, random assignment. Option B, advance organizer. Option C, token economy. Option D, exit ticket. The correct answer is option B. Advance organizer. This describes advance organizer because a preview structure helps learners connect new information to prior knowledge. Random assignment is not the best choice because it places participants into groups by chance. Token economy is different because it uses symbolic rewards. Exit ticket does not fit because it checks understanding at the end of a lesson. Question 44. While reviewing, Zuri sees a learner uses an existing mental framework about classrooms to understand a new teaching method. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, rubric. Option B, reinforcer. Option C, schema. Option D, percentile rank. The correct answer is option C. Schema. This describes schema because a schema is an organized knowledge structure used to interpret information. Rubric is not the best choice because it is a scoring guide. Reinforcer is different because it is a consequence that increases behavior. Percentile rank does not fit because it shows relative standing in a group. Question 45. One interesting clue says too many visuals, terms, and steps overwhelm a learner during a first lesson. Which educational psychology term fits for Zuri? Option A, intrinsic motivation. Option B, cognitive load. Option C, reliability. Option D, egocentrism. The correct answer is option B. Cognitive load. This describes cognitive load because working memory can become overloaded when too much information must be processed at once. Intrinsic motivation is not the best choice because it concerns interest and enjoyment. Reliability is different because it concerns consistency of scores. Egocentrism does not fit because it means difficulty taking another viewpoint. Question 46. From this example, where students build their own understanding through discussion, examples, and problem solving, which answer should Zuri select? Option A, maturation. Option B, constructivism. Option C, standardization. Option D, behaviorism. The correct answer is option B. Constructivism. This describes constructivism because learners actively construct meaning rather than simply receive information. Maturation is not the best choice because it emphasizes biological growth. Standardization is different because it keeps procedures uniform. Behaviorism does not fit because it emphasizes observable behavior and consequences. Question 47. Students in an after-school class discuss why students investigate a question, gather evidence, and develop an explanation. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, inquiry-based learning. Option B, fixed ratio reinforcement. Option C, norm-referenced assessment. Option D, direct instruction. The correct answer is option A. Inquiry-based learning. This describes inquiry-based learning because learning begins with questions and exploration rather than only direct telling. Fixed ratio reinforcement is not the best choice because it rewards after a set number of responses. Norm-referenced assessment is different because it compares students to one another. Direct instruction does not fit because it uses clear teacher-led explanation and guided practice. Question 48. Teachers in a student coaching session wonder why a teacher models a skill, guides practice, checks understanding, and gives feedback. Which principle applies? Option A, discovery learning. Option B, direct instruction. Option C, portfolio assessment. Option D, peer tutoring. The correct answer is option B. Direct instruction. This describes direct instruction because the method uses explicit teaching steps and structured practice. Discovery learning is not the best choice because it expects students to uncover ideas with less direct guidance. Portfolio assessment is different because it collects work over time. Peer tutoring does not fit because it uses students helping students. Question 49. Can Zuri treat students' work in small groups with shared goals and individual accountability as evidence of which concept? Option A, independent study. Option B, competitive learning. Option C, lecture method. Option D, cooperative learning. The correct answer is option D. Cooperative learning. This describes cooperative learning because learners collaborate while each member remains responsible for contributing. Independent study is not the best choice because it relies on solo learning. Competitive learning is different because it ranks students against one another. Lecture method does not fit because it centers on teacher presentation. Question 50. If Zuri must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when a teacher adjusts tasks, materials, and support based on learner readiness? Option A, standardized instruction. Option B, differentiated instruction. Option C, summative assessment. Option D, random sampling. The correct answer is option B. Differentiated instruction. This describes differentiated instruction because instruction is adapted to different needs while keeping meaningful learning goals. Standardized instruction is not the best choice because it delivers the same approach to all students. Summative assessment is different because it evaluates after instruction. Random sampling does not fit because it selects participants for research. Question 51. Rather than guessing, Zuri should connect a lesson offers text, audio, visuals, and different ways to show understanding from the start with which concept? Option A, universal design for learning. Option B, accommodation only. Option C, mastery grading. Option D, tracking. The correct answer is option A. Universal design for learning. This describes universal design for learning because UDL plans flexible access and expression options before barriers appear. Accommodation only is not the best choice because it changes access for an individual after a need is identified. Mastery grading is different because it focuses on reaching standards before moving ahead. Tracking does not fit because it separates students into groups by perceived ability. Question 52. Curiosity rises when Zuri reads that a teacher uses a quick exit question to adjust tomorrow's lesson. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, placement test. Option B, norm-referenced assessment. Option C, formative assessment. Option D, summative assessment. The correct answer is option C. Formative assessment. This describes formative assessment because the assessment is used during learning to guide instruction and feedback. Placement test is not the best choice because it sorts students before instruction begins. Norm-referenced assessment is different because it compares performance to other learners. Summative assessment does not fit because it judges learning after instruction is complete. Question 53. A CLEP-style scenario says a final exam measures what students learned after the unit ends. Which answer best captures it for Zuri? Option A, summative assessment. Option B, formative assessment. Option C, diagnostic assessment. Option D, anecdotal record. The correct answer is option A, summative assessment. This describes summative assessment because the assessment evaluates achievement at the end of a learning period. Formative assessment is not the best choice because it guides instruction during learning. Diagnostic assessment is different because it identifies starting strengths and needs. Anecdotal record does not fit because it is a brief observational note. Question 54. Inside a morning lesson, Zuri studies why a student's score is judged against a fixed standard of mastery. Which concept fits? Option A, ipsative assessment. Option B, informal observation. Option C, criterion referenced assessment. Option D, norm referenced assessment. The correct answer is option C, criterion referenced assessment. This describes criterion referenced assessment because performance is compared with defined criteria rather than other students. Ipsative assessment is not the best choice because it compares a student to their own past performance. Informal observation is different because it is not necessarily tied to a fixed standard. Norm referenced assessment does not fit because it compares students to a reference group. Question 55. Looking at the clue that a score report shows how a student performed compared with a national sample, which idea should Zuri remember? Option A, norm referenced assessment. Option B, criterion referenced assessment. Option C, formative assessment. Option D, authentic assessment. The correct answer is option A, norm referenced assessment. This describes norm-referenced assessment because the score is interpreted relative to other test takers. Criterion-referenced assessment is not the best choice because it compares performance to a standard. Formative assessment is different because it is used during learning for improvement. Authentic assessment does not fit because it uses real-world tasks. Question 56. Zuri sees that a test gives similar results when the same skill is measured repeatedly during a tutoring table. Which concept best explains it? Option A, reliability. Option B, validity. Option C, bias. Option D, percentile rank. The correct answer is option A, reliability. This describes reliability because reliability means scores are consistent across time, items, or raters. Validity is not the best choice because it asks whether the test measures the intended construct. Bias is different because it concerns unfair advantage or disadvantage. Percentile rank does not fit because it reports relative standing. Question 57. When Zuri notices that a math test actually measures math reasoning instead of reading speed in a classroom discussion, which idea is being tested? Option A, validity. Option B, standard error. Option C, inter-rater agreement. Option D, reliability. The correct answer is option A, validity. This describes validity because validity concerns whether an assessment measures what it claims to measure. Standard error is not the best choice because it estimates score uncertainty. Inter-rater agreement is different because it is one form of consistency between scorers. Reliability does not fit because it concerns consistency, not meaning. Question 58. During a quick quiz review, Zuri studies a case where all examines receive the same directions, timing, and scoring rules. Which term fits best? Option A, standardized test. Option B, informal assessment. Option C, portfolio assessment. Option D, authentic assessment. The correct answer is option A, standardized test. This describes standardized test because standardization keeps testing conditions uniform so scores can be interpreted fairly. Informal assessment is not the best choice because it may be flexible and teacher-made. Portfolio assessment is different because it collects multiple pieces of work over time. Authentic assessment does not fit because it asks students to perform realistic tasks. Question 59. In a teacher training scenario, Zuri asks why students design a real classroom plan instead of only selecting answers on a test. Which answer names the idea? Option A, forced choice test. Option B, standardized assessment. Option C, norm referenced assessment. Option D, authentic assessment. The correct answer is option D, authentic assessment. This describes authentic assessment because students demonstrate learning through realistic tasks and products. Forced choice test is not the best choice because it limits responses to provided options. Standardized assessment is different because it uses uniform procedures and scoring. Norm-referenced assessment does not fit because it compares performance to a group. Question 60. After reading that students receive a scoring guide describing levels for evidence, clarity, and accuracy, how should Zuri label the concept? Option A, checklist. Option B, syllabus. Option C, norm table. Option D, rubric. The correct answer is option D, rubric. This describes rubric because a rubric lists criteria and performance levels for judging work. Checklist is not the best choice because it often marks whether elements are present without quality levels. Syllabus is different because it outlines course policies and topics. Norm table does not fit because it helps interpret scores against a sample. Question 61. For a short exam review, Zuri connects a teacher moves students from remembering facts to evaluating arguments and creating projects with which principle? Option A, Maslow hierarchy. Option B, Erikson stages. Option C, Bloom taxonomy. Option D, Kohlberg stages. The correct answer is option C, Bloom taxonomy. This describes Bloom taxonomy because the taxonomy organizes cognitive tasks from lower to higher levels of thinking. Maslow hierarchy is not the best choice because it organizes human needs. Erikson stages is different because it describes psychosocial development. Kohlberg stages does not fit because it describes moral reasoning. Question 62. Could a case where a student with a qualifying disability has a legal plan with goals and services be an example of which concept for Zuri? Option A, rubric. Option B, norming report. Option C, individualized education program. Option D, lesson plan. The correct answer is option C, individualized education program. This describes individualized education program because an IEP documents specialized instruction, supports, goals, and services for eligible students. Rubric is not the best choice because it scores performance. Norming report is different because it summarizes comparison data. Lesson plan does not fit because it guides a teacher's daily instruction but is not a special education legal document. Question 63. Why would Zuri link a student with a disability learns with non-disabled peers as much as appropriate to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, least restrictive environment. Option B, standardization. Option C, tracking. Option D, retention. The correct answer is option A, least restrictive environment. This describes least restrictive environment because students should be educated in settings that provide access while avoiding unnecessary separation. Standardization is not the best choice because it keeps testing procedures uniform. Tracking is different because it groups students by perceived ability. Retention does not fit because it keeps a student in the same grade. Question 64. A practice item tells Zuri that a learner gets extended time while the learning target stays the same. Which concept is most likely? Option A, punishment. Option B, acceleration. Option C, modification. Option D, accommodation. The correct answer is option D. Accommodation. This describes accommodation because access is adjusted without changing the essential learning expectation. Punishment is not the best choice because it reduces unwanted behavior through consequences. Acceleration is different because it moves a learner ahead faster. Modification does not fit because it changes the learning expectation or task level. Question 65. Before answering, Zuri identifies that a learner completes a simplified assignment with different learning expectations. Which term should be chosen? Option A, accommodation. Option B, scaffolding. Option C, universal screening. Option D, modification. The correct answer is option D. Modification. This describes modification because the task or standard is changed to fit the learner's instructional level. Accommodation is not the best choice because it changes access while keeping the same standard. Scaffolding is different because it gives temporary support toward the same goal. Universal screening does not fit because it checks all learners for risk. Question 66. Which choice helps Zuri explain why a strong thinker struggles with accurate word decoding and benefits from structured phonics in a Bright Review class? Option A, dyscalculia support. Option B, dyslexia support. Option C, behavior contract. Option D, percentile rank. The correct answer is option B. Dyslexia support. This describes dyslexia support because dyslexia commonly affects word reading and decoding, so explicit structured literacy support can help. Dyscalculia support is not the best choice because it focuses on math-related difficulties. Behavior contract is different because it targets behavior goals. Percentile rank does not fit because it reports relative test standing. Question 67. How can Zuri classify a classroom moment where a learner focuses better with short tasks, movement breaks, and clear routines? Option A, gifted compacting. Option B, classical conditioning. Option C, ADHD classroom support. Option D, criterion testing. The correct answer is option C. ADHD classroom support. This describes ADHD classroom support because structured routines and attention supports can reduce distractions and support self-management. Gifted compacting is not the best choice because it removes already mastered work for advanced learners. Classical conditioning is different because it links stimuli with responses. Criterion testing does not fit because it compares performance to standards. Question 68. Suppose Zuri observes that an advanced learner skips mastered work and uses time for deeper enrichment. Which concept is shown? Option A, extinction. Option B, remediation. Option C, curriculum compacting. Option D, retention. The correct answer is option C. Curriculum compacting. This describes curriculum compacting because already mastered content is reduced so the learner can pursue more challenging work. Extinction is not the best choice because it removes reinforcement to reduce a behavior. Remediation is different because it retakes skills that are not yet mastered. Retention does not fit because it repeats a grade or course. Question 69. While reviewing, Zuri sees examples, discussion norms, and materials connect learning to students' cultural backgrounds. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, standardized testing. Option B, culturally responsive teaching. Option C, ability tracking. Option D, colorblind teaching. The correct answer is option B. Culturally responsive teaching. This describes culturally responsive teaching because instruction uses students' cultural knowledge and experiences as assets for learning. Standardized testing is not the best choice because it keeps procedures uniform. Ability tracking is different because it separates students by perceived ability. Colorblind teaching does not fit because it ignores cultural differences rather than using them constructively. Question 70. One interesting clue says an assessment unfairly disadvantages a group because examples depend on unfamiliar cultural knowledge. Which educational psychology term fits for Zuri? Option A, validity evidence. Option B, standard deviation. Option C, reliability. Option D, test bias. The correct answer is option D, test bias. This describes test bias because bias occurs when irrelevant factors give some groups an unfair advantage or disadvantage. Validity evidence is not the best choice because it supports appropriate score interpretation. Standard deviation is different because it describes score spread. Reliability does not fit because it concerns score consistency. Question 71. From this example, where students transition quickly because procedures for materials and movement are practiced daily, which answer should Zuri select? Option A, random reinforcement. Option B, summative testing. Option C, accommodation. Option D, classroom routines. The correct answer is option D, classroom routines. This describes classroom routines because clear repeated procedures reduce confusion and support orderly learning time. Random reinforcement is not the best choice because it gives rewards unpredictably. Summative testing is different because it evaluates final achievement. Accommodation does not fit because it adjusts access for a learner. Question 72. Students in a classroom discussion discuss why students earn points for target behaviors and trade them for privileges. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, mastery learning. Option B, logical consequence. Option C, classical conditioning. Option D, token economy. The correct answer is option D, token economy. This describes token economy because tokens serve as conditioned reinforcers that can be exchanged for backup rewards. Mastery learning is not the best choice because it requires meeting standards before moving forward. Logical consequence is different because it is connected naturally to misbehavior. Classical conditioning does not fit because it links two stimuli rather than using exchangeable rewards. Question 73. Teachers in a quick quiz review wonder why a student who misuses lab materials must repair the setup and review safety steps. Which principle applies? Option A, negative reinforcement. Option B, logical consequence. Option C, unrelated punishment. Option D, extinction. The correct answer is option B, logical consequence. This describes logical consequence because the consequence is related to the behavior and helps restore responsible action. Negative reinforcement is not the best choice because it increases behavior by removing an unpleasant condition. Unrelated punishment is different because it does not connect meaningfully to the behavior. Extinction does not fit because it withholds reinforcement to reduce behavior. Question 74. Can Zuri treat a teacher spots small off-task behavior early while continuing the lesson smoothly as evidence of which concept? Option A, witness. Option B, wait time. Option C, scaffolding. Option D, self-efficacy. The correct answer is option A, witness. This describes witness because witness means awareness of classroom events and quick response before problems grow. Wait time is not the best choice because it is a pause after asking a question. Scaffolding is different because it gives temporary learning support. Self-efficacy does not fit because it is belief in capability. Question 75. If Zuri must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when a teacher pauses several seconds after asking a question before calling on anyone? Option A, response cost. Option B, distributed practice. Option C, witness. Option D, wait time. The correct answer is option D, wait time. This describes wait time because wait time gives students more processing time and often improves response quality. Response cost is not the best choice because it removes a privilege after behavior. Distributed practice is different because it spreads study sessions over time. Witness does not fit because it is awareness of classroom behavior. Question 76. Rather than guessing, Zuri should connect a prompt. Ask students to explain several possible reasons instead of choosing one fact with which concept? Option A, recall cue. Option B, closed question. Option C, open-ended questioning. Option D, fixed ratio schedule. The correct answer is option C. Open-ended questioning. This describes open-ended questioning because open-ended questions invite elaboration, reasoning, and multiple defensible responses. Recall cue is not the best choice because it simply prompts memory of stored information. Closed question is different because it usually has one brief answer. Fixed ratio schedule does not fit because it reinforces after a set number of responses. Question 77. Curiosity rises when Zuri reads that a teacher tells a learner exactly what worked and what to revise next. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, effective feedback. Option B, random correction. Option C, general praise. Option D, summative grade only. The correct answer is option A. Effective feedback. This describes effective feedback because specific, timely feedback helps learners close the gap between current and desired performance. Random correction is not the best choice because it lacks targeted connection to the learning goal. General praise is different because it may feel positive but gives little guidance. Summative grade only does not fit because it reports performance without next steps. Question 78. A CLEP-style scenario says a student sets a goal, monitors progress, changes strategies, and reflects after studying. Which answer best captures it for Zuri? Option A, operant conditioning. Option B, social facilitation. Option C, object permanence. Option D, self-regulated learning. The correct answer is option D. Self-regulated learning. This describes self-regulated learning because learners actively plan, monitor, control, and evaluate their learning. Operant conditioning is not the best choice because it emphasizes consequences shaping behavior. Social facilitation is different because it concerns performance changes in the presence of others. Object permanence does not fit because it concerns infant understanding of hidden objects. Question 79. Inside a mini-lecture, Zuri studies why students take turns summarizing, questioning, clarifying, and predicting during reading. Which concept fits? Option A, token economy. Option B, reciprocal teaching. Option C, random assignment. Option D, direct instruction. The correct answer is option B. Reciprocal teaching. This describes reciprocal teaching because the strategy uses structured dialogue to improve comprehension. Token economy is not the best choice because it uses symbolic rewards. Random assignment is different because it assigns participants to groups by chance. Direct instruction does not fit because it is mainly teacher-led explanation and practice. Question 80. Looking at the clue that one student guides another through practice while both receive learning benefits, which idea should Zuri remember? Option A, portfolio assessment. Option B, tracking. Option C, peer tutoring. Option D, lecture. The correct answer is option C. Peer tutoring. This describes peer tutoring because students support each other's learning through structured helper-learner roles. Portfolio assessment is not the best choice because it collects work samples over time. Tracking is different because it separates students into ability groups. Lecture does not fit because it is teacher presentation to a group. Question 81. Zuri sees that a child identifies that cat and cup begin with the same spoken sound during a bright review class. Which concept best explains it? Option A, morphology. Option B, syntax. Option C, phonics. Option D, phonemic awareness. The correct answer is option D. Phonemic awareness. This describes phonemic awareness because the learner is attending to individual sounds in spoken language. Morphology is not the best choice because it studies meaningful word parts. Syntax is different because it concerns sentence structure. Phonics does not fit because it links sounds to printed letters. Question 82. When Zuri notices that a learner improves a skill after watching a confident model demonstrate each step in a quiet study group, which idea is being tested? Option A, Bandura modeling. Option B, Skinner shaping. Option C, Maslow needs. Option D, Piaget conservation. The correct answer is option A, Bandura modeling. This describes Bandura modeling because Bandura emphasized learning by observing models and the outcomes of their actions. Skinner shaping is not the best choice because it reinforces gradual behavior changes through consequences. Maslow needs is different because it explains motivation through layered needs. Piaget conservation does not fit because it concerns logical understanding of quantity. Question 83. During an online prep session, Zuri studies a case where family, school, peers, community, and culture all shape a child's development. Which term fits best? Option A, Brenfen-Brenner ecological systems. Option B, Kohlberg moral stages. Option C, information processing. Option D, Erikson psychosocial stages. The correct answer is option A, Brenfen-Brenner ecological systems. This describes Brenfen-Brenner ecological systems because development is influenced by nested environmental systems around a child. Kohlberg moral stages is not the best choice because it focuses on moral reasoning. Information processing is different because it compares thinking to mental processing systems. Erikson psychosocial stages does not fit because it focuses on lifespan social emotional conflicts. Question 84. In a morning lesson, Zuri asks why a young child uses a caregiver as a safe base and seeks comfort after stress. Which answer names the idea? Option A, industry versus inferiority. Option B, secure attachment. Option C, avoidant attachment. Option D, authoritarian parenting. The correct answer is option B, secure attachment. This describes secure attachment because secure attachment involves trust in caregiver availability and comfort. Industry versus inferiority is not the best choice because it is a school-age psychosocial conflict. Avoidant attachment is different because it shows reduced seeking of comfort. Authoritarian parenting does not fit because it describes strict parenting style. Question 85. After reading that two infants differ early in activity level, mood, and adaptability, how should Zuri label the concept? Option A, self-concept. Option B, criterion validity. Option C, moral reasoning. Option D, temperament. The correct answer is option D, temperament. This describes temperament because temperament refers to biologically influenced patterns of emotional and behavioral response. Self-concept is not the best choice because it is a person's view of self. Criterion validity is different because it links test scores to an outcome. Moral reasoning does not fit because it concerns judgments about right and wrong. Question 86. For a short exam review, Zuri connects a child says code because a regular grammar rule is applied too broadly with which principle? Option A, babbling. Option B, code switching. Option C, telegraphic speech. Option D, language overgeneralization. The correct answer is option D, language overgeneralization. This describes language overgeneralization because the child applies a learned language rule to an irregular case. Babbling is not the best choice because it is early sound play. Code switching is different because it shifts language varieties based on context. Telegraphic speech does not fit because it uses short two-word phrases. Question 87. Could a case where students explain whether a character should break a rule to help someone in need be an example of which concept for Zuri? Option A, aptitude test. Option B, behavior checklist. Option C, moral dilemma assessment. Option D, achievement test. The correct answer is option C, moral dilemma assessment. This describes moral dilemma assessment because moral dilemmas reveal the reasoning behind judgments, not just the choice itself. Aptitude test is not the best choice because it predicts future learning potential. Behavior checklist is different because it records observed behaviors. Achievement test does not fit because it measures learned academic content. Question 88. Why would Zuri link a study finds that homework time and test scores rise together without proving cause to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, correlational research. Option B, experimental research. Option C, ethnography. Option D, case study. The correct answer is option A. Correlational research. This describes correlational research because correlation shows a relationship between variables but does not establish causation. Experimental research is not the best choice because it manipulates variables to test cause and effect. Ethnography is different because it studies culture through immersion. Case study does not fit because it examines one person or small group deeply. Question 89. A practice item tells Zuri that participants are placed into tutoring or no tutoring groups by chance. Which concept is most likely? Option A, random assignment. Option B, convenience sampling. Option C, random sampling. Option D, matching. The correct answer is option A. Random assignment. This describes random assignment because chance placement helps make groups similar before the treatment begins. Convenience sampling is not the best choice because it uses whoever is easily available. Random sampling is different because it selects participants from a population. Matching does not fit because it pairs participants on key traits. Question 90. Before answering, Zuri identifies that a researcher changes the type of feedback students receive. Which term should be chosen? Option A, confounding variable. Option B, dependent variable. Option C, independent variable. Option D, control variable. The correct answer is option C. Independent variable. This describes independent variable because the independent variable is the factor the researcher manipulates. Confounding variable is not the best choice because it is an unwanted factor that may affect results. Dependent variable is different because it is the measured outcome. Control variable does not fit because it is held constant. Question 91. Which choice helps Zuri explain why a researcher measures quiz scores after using two different teaching methods in a learning lab? Option A, dependent variable. Option B, extraneous variable. Option C, independent variable. Option D, random assignment. The correct answer is option A. Dependent variable. This describes dependent variable because the dependent variable is the outcome measured to see whether the treatment had an effect. Extraneous variable is not the best choice because it is an outside influence. Independent variable is different because it is the factor manipulated. Random assignment does not fit because it is a grouping procedure. Question 92. How can Zuri classify a classroom moment where one group receives regular instruction while another receives a new memory strategy? Option A, population. Option B, control group. Option C, sample. Option D, experimental group. The correct answer is option B. Control group. This describes control group because the control group provides a comparison for judging the effect of the treatment. Population is not the best choice because it is the larger group of interest. Sample is different because it is the set of participants studied. Experimental group does not fit because it receives the treatment being tested. Question 93. Suppose Zuri observes that a teacher adds all quiz scores and divides by the number of students. Which concept is shown? Option A, mean. Option B, range. Option C, mode. Option D, median. The correct answer is option A. Mean. This describes mean because the mean is the arithmetic average of a set of scores. Range is not the best choice because it is the difference between highest and lowest scores. Mode is different because it is the most frequent score. Median does not fit because it is the middle score. Question 94. While reviewing, Zuri sees a teacher wants to know how spread out the class scores are around the average. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, standard deviation. Option B, percentile rank. Option C, mean. Option D, raw score. The correct answer is option A. Standard deviation. This describes standard deviation because standard deviation describes typical distance of scores from the mean. Percentile rank is not the best choice because it shows relative standing. Mean is different because it gives the average but not spread. Raw score does not fit because it is the number of points earned. Question 95. One interesting clue says a student's report says the score is higher than the scores of 80% of the norm group. Which educational psychology term fits for Zuri? Option A, grade equivalent. Option B, percentage correct. Option C, percentile rank. Option D, standard deviation. The correct answer is option C. Percentile rank. This describes percentile rank because percentile rank tells the percentage of comparison scores at or below a student's score. Grade equivalent is not the best choice because it estimates grade level performance, often imperfectly. Percentage correct is different because it reports items answered correctly. Standard deviation does not fit because it describes score spread. Question 96. From this example, where students improve partly because they know they are being studied, which answer should Zuri select? Option A, observer bias. Option B, testing effect. Option C, Hawthorne effect. Option D, placebo effect. The correct answer is option C. Hawthorne effect. This describes Hawthorne effect because participants may change behavior simply because they are receiving attention in a study. Observer bias is not the best choice because it occurs when researcher expectations shape recording. Testing effect is different because it improves learning through retrieval practice. Placebo effect does not fit because it involves improvement from belief in a treatment. Question 97. Students in a quiet study group discuss why students improve over a semester because they naturally grew older, not because of the program. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, maturation threat. Option B, regression to the mean. Option C, instrumentation threat. Option D, selection bias. The correct answer is option A. Maturation threat. This describes maturation threat because changes due to natural development can threaten conclusions about a treatment's effect. Regression to the mean is not the best choice because it occurs when extreme scores move closer to average later. Instrumentation threat is different because it occurs when measurement changes over time. Selection bias does not fit because it occurs when groups differ before a treatment. Question 98. Teachers in an online prep session wonder why a researcher records detailed notes about classroom interactions instead of only counting scores. Which principle applies? Option A, meta-analysis. Option B, qualitative observation. Option C, random assignment. Option D, standardized testing. The correct answer is option B. Qualitative observation. This describes qualitative observation because qualitative methods focus on rich descriptions and meanings in context. Meta-analysis is not the best choice because it statistically combines many studies. Random assignment is different because it places participants into groups by chance. Standardized testing does not fit because it uses uniform measurement procedures. Question 99. Can Zuri treat a teacher studies the effect of a new discussion routine in the teacher's own classroom as evidence of which concept? Option A, longitudinal research. Option B, laboratory experiment. Option C, action research. Option D, survey research. The correct answer is option C. Action research. This describes action research because practitioners investigate their own settings to improve local practice. Longitudinal research is not the best choice because it follows participants over time. Laboratory experiment is different because it tests variables in a controlled setting. Survey research does not fit because it gathers responses from questionnaires. Question 100. If Zuri must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when families are told the study purpose, risks, and rights before agreeing to participate? Option A, random assignment. Option B, debriefing. Option C, informed consent. Option D, confidentiality. The correct answer is option C. Informed consent. This describes informed consent because participants or guardians must understand key information and voluntarily agree. Random assignment is not the best choice because it assigns participants to groups by chance. Debriefing is different because it explains details after participation. Confidentiality does not fit because it protects private data.